In this video, we take a look at the 1970s Amazing Spider-Man TV show. I'll point out some technical goofs, trivia facts, and some of the spectacular Spider-Man actors that appeared on this classic television series. So let's jump right into it. The Amazing Spider-Man TV series, based on the comic books obviously, ran from 77 to 79. But only 13 episodes were made, including a pilot. The show was a rating success from what I've read, but CBS was worried that too many kids were watching and not enough adults. So they didn't give it very many episodes, and they canceled it after a couple of years with only 13 episodes. And then there was this problem with having too many superheroes. Apparently they were worried about that as well, because they had before they had Shazam, they had Wonder Woman, they had the Hulk, and so they were worried about being known as the superhero network. Of course, the series relied on practical effects, which for the most part looked great, especially when Spider-Man was climbing up walls, which is a point that even Stan Lee admitted, even though he didn't really like the series overall. But there were those small occasions when it didn't look quite right. For instance, on the pilot episode, when Spider-Man is climbing the outside of his walls as Peter Parker, it's pretty clear that it's just a giant photo of his house that he's crawling all over in this scene. This next scene is what I would call sort of a narrative goof, I guess, because it just doesn't make sense. Okay, so Spider-Man climbs down the building to save this guy who's about to fall out the window, and instead of pushing the guy back inside the building through the window, for some reason he grabs the guy and climbs back up to the top of the building and sets the dude on top of the building, which kind of doesn't, it really doesn't make sense. Why would you do that unless it just looked better on film, they thought. About the second episode, Spider-Man starts wearing his utility belt and his web shooter's on the outside for some reason. I don't know why, but he does. I actually liked it better in the pilot when he had the more traditional looking Spider-Man costume. But it's kind of interesting because there's a lot of times when he's walking across the roof, when he'll have his utility belt on, he'll have the web shooter on, you can clearly see it, and then all of a sudden it's gone because they used the clip from the pilot, and it's back on again. As I said, their practical effects were really great back then. But some things, like I guess green screens, weren't so great. Like you take this scene here where Spider-Man jumps out the helicopter. It looks good, especially when they're showing an actual stuntman and stuff. But this one part where he looks like he's just sort of, laying flat on a table, it's evidently a green screen effect. It really kind of stands out. What I found interesting with the two actors that played J. Jonah Jameson was that they both had recurring roles on Bewitched. David White, who played Jameson only for the Spider-Man pilot, I thought it was a shame he didn't stay on. I've always liked seeing him pop up on anything, really. He played Larry Tate on Bewitched. I'd love to know the reason why he didn't continue on the Spider-Man series. Now, if you look on the IMDb website, his next TV appearance after that was a Love Boat guest spot. He popped up on a lot of classic TV shows, such as The 6 Million Man, The Alfred Hitchcock Hour, and The Twilight Zone, just to name a few. Now, sadly, he passed away in 1990. The next actor to play Jameson, starting with the second episode, was Robert F. Simon, who played the father of Darren Stevens on Bewitched for several episodes. Now, he guest starred in a lot of the same series as David White did, including The Twilight Zone and The 6 Million Man. He also guest starred in a number of episodes of McHale's Navy. Another actor who played on McHale's Navy and on Spider-Man was Bob Hastings. Hastings only did one episode as Monahan, the police detective, on the pilot episode of Spider-Man. Now, classic TV fans know him as Lieutenant Elroy Carpenter from McHale's Navy. It's really a shame he didn't appear on more of the episodes. He was a great actor. Now, Batman the Animated Series fans may recognize him as the voice of James Gordon. He also did voice work on cartoon shows like Challenge of the Super Friends, Yogi Space Race, Captain Caveman, Clue Cub, and lots more. Now, he also appeared in a lot of other classic superhero shows like The Greatest American Hero, Incredible Hulk, and Wonder Woman. Michael Pataki played Captain Barbera for the first season of Spider-Man. He also did voice work on Batman the Animated Series as the Sewer King. But if you grew up in the 80s, you probably know him best as the Russian spokesman for Ivan Drago on Rocky IV. Now, Hilly Hicks played Robbie Robertson, but just for the pilot episode. Now, Robbie Robertson is, of course, a regular character in the comic book series, so it's kind of strange that he didn't become a recurring character. Now, if you grew up in the 70s, you might be surprised to hear that he did the voice of Brock on the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla cartoon. Instead of Mary Jane, Gwen Stacy, or Betty Brant, we got a totally new love interest for Peter Parker named Julie Masters, played by the actress Ellen Brie. Her character was from a competing newspaper and was always getting in Parker's way, but they seemed to be headed towards a relationship. Now, Brie has appeared in several series since Spider-Man, including Monk, Days of Our Lives, Dragnet, Chicago Hope, Saints, Elsewhere, and an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. Now, Chip Fields played a new character created just for the show that worked with Peter Parker at the Daily Bugle named Rita Conway. Fields also made appearances on classic TV series such as Good Times and What's Happening. JOANNA Cameron appeared on 2 episodes of Spider-Man entitled The Deadly Dust Part 1 and Part 2 as Gail Hoffman. She's best known for her Saturday morning series The Secrets of Isis and appearances on Shazam. Now, as a kid watching this episode, it was almost like watching a superhero team-up, except she didn't have any powers in the Spider-Man episodes. Now, sadly, Cameron passed away in 2021. Now, Gavin Hurley guest starred as a college scientist in the episode Wolfpack. In this episode, he invents a mind control chemical that gets used for nefarious purposes. You might remember him from Superman 3, where he played Brad, Lana Lang's sort of love interest before Clark Kent comes back to Smallville. Now, in the movie, he ends up drinking on the job with Richard Pryor's character, and he was also another actor to have appeared on The $6 Million Man, and he had a role in Willow. Now, here's the neat part. Gavin was also Chuck Cunningham from Happy Days for 9 episodes. Now, if you watched Happy Days growing up in the 70s, you probably wondered, like everyone else in the world, where did Richie's brother Chuck disappear to? As his character just disappears out of existence like he came out of the Twilight Zone. He never literally disappeared before our eyes, but he's never mentioned again after his last appearance in Season 2. And it's almost as if the Cunninghams only had 2 children, not 3. Sadly, Gavin was yet another actor to have passed away in 2021. Now, as a bigger role as Aunt May plays in Peter's life in the comics and the movies, she's barely seen in this TV series, and is played by 2 different actresses. On the pilot episode, she's played by Jeff Donnell, and Irene Tedrow later on, who you might recognize from 26 episodes of Dennis the Menace. Now we come to Spider-Man himself, played by Nicolas Hammond. Hammond actually spent most of his time on screen as Peter Parker. Most of the scenes we see with Spider-Man in costume were done by a stuntman, but his show was the first serious live-action Spider-Man, not counting the Electric Company version done for little kids, which of course I watched back then because I was a little kid back then. Now, Hammond got his first small role in 1963 at the age of 10 on the movie The Lord of the Flies. He appeared on Broadway and television before he got the role of Frederick in The Sound of Music. Before he became the star of Spider-Man, he did a lot of TV appearances on shows like The Brady Bunch, The Waltons, and The YA50. Now, after Spider-Man, he appeared on the mini TV series The Martian Chronicles, then Love Boat, Dallas, and Magnum P.I. According to IMDb, the last thing he played on was a TV series called Total Control, and he had a role in the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Find Peter Parker!
You know, I really love Spider-Man No Way Home. I think they should have gave Hammond just a small cameo. I mean, after all, he was the first to bring us a serious live-action Spidey to the world. Let's go over some quick trivia facts about the Amazing Spider-Man show. Despite its storyline being set in New York City, the character's hometown, of course, in the comic books, the series was mostly filmed in Los Angeles. Stan Lee wasn't a big fan of the show, calling it juvenile. I listened to an interview Stan Lee gave, and he sounded to me like he was complaining about things being left out that made Spider-Man a success in the comics. Now, according to IMDb, when Nicolas Hammond agreed to play Peter Parker, he told CBS he wanted to do a realistic portrayal of the character, and not do it like a comedy like the 60's Batman. Okay, they had 2 teams to shoot the series. One to shoot Peter Parker scenes, and one to shoot the Spider-Man scenes with a stuntman. The show was released theatrically in Europe instead of just as a regular TV show. Now, Spider-Man's spider sense is shown more like a vision of the future or present events instead of being more of a warning signal or tingle like it is in the comic books and the movies now. Hey, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, hit the bell for future notifications, hit the like button, comment. Got a lot more stuff on TV classics, superhero stuff, comic book stuff on the TV Crazy Man channel, so check it all out. Thanks. Have a great day.